Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at the Tavor 7. Now the Tavor 7, I actually first shot at the 2018 SHOT Show. Actually, you're going to see a little bit of a video here. I'll be shooting that at SHOT Show at Media Day. Ever since 2018, I've been trying to get my hands on one of these to review, and I had a hard time getting a hold of one. And just recently, Jeremy over at IWI was able to get me one to review, and it was certainly worth the wait. This is basically a 7.62 version of the standard Tavor. The standard Tavor has been in use with the IDF for quite some time. This version is more of the older version that really didn't see too much with the IDF. It's more of the X95 that you're seeing for the current issue rifles for the IDF. But the earlier versions like this, they were relatively far and few between. IDF was primarily using M16s and M4s, which made sense. As much as the Israelis over the years would rather have made their own guns in the house, it was far cheaper getting M16s and M4s because they had foreign military aid from the U.S. where we gave them guns, or they had foreign military sales, which were pennies on the dollar, and they were U.S. government guns. They couldn't manufacture Tavors in-house cheaper than they could buy M16 or M4s for, so that's probably that was the main reason for it. But now they're getting away from more of the Americanized equipment. They're using more of their own. But this one here was primarily designed for a commercial market. I've not seen any military applications to it at all, but they just basically upscaled it into 7.62. Now, this is not a lightweight rifle. You're looking at 9 pounds. You have an overall length of about 26 inches. This is a cold hammer forged barrel. It's a 7.62 NATO, 1 12-inch twist. Cold hammer forged with chrome lining. Now, the muzzle brake you see on here, the muzzle brake is fairly effective. For something like this, a muzzle brake is probably a good idea with it being this close to you. I did have a chance to get a muzzle device for this, but this is a standard muzzle thread for you to be able to put any sound suppression that you would want. The optic I put on here was a Vortex optic. This was actually the wrong optic for it. I probably should have gone with something that was more along the line of a red dot, but it works just fine for as far as us being able to get good groups with it. Operations is it's a short stroke piston. We're going to take it apart and you can take a look at what the bolt carrier group looks like. Again, the barrel 16.5 inch cold hammer forged chromoly vanadium, 4 right lands and grooves, 1 12-inch twist. Now magazines. Magazines are all SR25 pattern. Now there is no Stenag 7.62 magazine. That doesn't exist. You only have the 5.56 M16 magazine at Stenag. But the SR25 magazine, probably of any of the magazines that are out there today, is probably the best, at least in my opinion. If you look at what's the 7.62 magazines used like on the SCAR, they're horrible. They break, they come apart. HK, overly expensive, and they're huge. These basically just work really, really well. They're very, very durable. This comes with one of the PMag Gen 3s, and of course we tried several other ones. I had a D&H Tactical. I had some Israeli-made magazines that were synthetic as well. We had some C Products Defense. We had a plethora of magazines for us to take a look at and see, and everything worked properly in it without a problem. Now, one of the issues that we did have with it was several times it did not lock back on the last shot. Now, we're not sure if that's due to the way the magazine catch was working or it was not working, but we did have several times failure to lock back. And judging by the recoil, I really can't imagine that it had anything to do with light ammunition, because the ammunition that we shot in this thing was pretty heavy-duty stuff. It was PPU 7.62 and also SIG 308, which are all relatively hot type rounds. But that's probably the only really hiccup we had was failure to lock back on the last shot. So let's go over a little bit about how this rifle works. Again, you have your magazine releases in the front. The original Tavors had the magazine release was in the rear. So your bolt locks back on your last shot. Hit your magazine release, insert your new magazine, and you hit upward, and it releases your bolt. Now, it's a little unusual to get used to. Basically, you have to learn how to do the manual of arms. And basically, the best way to do it is to use one hand to drop the magazine, and use your left hand to insert, and to hit your bolt release. That's probably the best way to operate it. Safety, located in a good spot, ambidextrous. Now your charging handle can also be moved from left to right side, however you so chose. Generally, we keep it over here on the left-hand side for me being a right-handed shooter. And again, mostly synthetic. Now, if you are a left-handed shooter, you are able to convert this over to left-handed. Basically, you're swapping over the plate, and basically you're taking your bolt and you're rotating it so your extractor is at 9 o'clock instead of 6, and now you have a left-handed rifle. Very easy to convert over. Magazine release is, again, up front. That's ambidextrous. So let's take this thing apart and see how she works. Gonna drop your magazine. Make sure we're clear. So you have a rear pin that we're going to push out. And that drops your rear plate of your stock down. Now you can pull your bolt carrier group right out. Now, there are a couple other things that you can pull up, but we're not going to bother you. You can pull out the trigger module, which is on the back here as well. There's no reason to do that, and we have no reason to take apart any upper receiver. You have a 4-position gas valve as well, which includes suppressed, standard, adverse, and basically shutting the gas off. Now, taking a look at the bolt carrier group, this looks like everything else, but it's just on steroids. Disassembly is very simple. Push inward on your firing pin, hit your retainer. Firing pin comes right out. Nice heavy braided spring there. Lift upward on the cam pin. Pull right outward on the cam pin. And you pull the bolt out. And there you have it. Now, if you notice on the bolt, we have dual ejectors. Dual ejectors works excellent, especially when you have an issue with overgassed systems. This will help egress those cartridge cases out so it has enough time to operate, especially with shorter barrels and with the gas port erosion. Reassembly, very simple. Put that back in. Now, when you're putting your bolt back in position, you have to be sure that you put it in the right orientation. Again, I'm a right-handed shooter, so I got to make sure that my extractor is at 3 o'clock. Now we look in here, we line up the the hole in the cam pin hole, drop our pin right back into place. Drops in like so. Make sure our retainer pin's all the way out. Push right back in position. This is very stiff, so it's going to need a little bit of persuasion. And there we have it. For reassembly. Drop right in like so. Close up the back pin. There you have it. I think we're going to go to the range and we're going to see how this thing shoots. Well, again, we fired about 200 rounds or so out of this, again, with PPU. And this has got some kick to it. For as far as it being a lightweight rifle, being able to maneuver easily, not so good. Now, For as far as this being short, I can see how people would like it for more of a mounted type of a situation if you wanted a 7.62. Quite frankly, I prefer this more in the 5.56. It's just easier, it's lighter, it's more easily to use. Bullpups is an acquired thing. Some people like them and some don't. Myself, I've never really been a big fan of them. I guess for me, just the fact that my cheek is right next to a chamber order is about 50,000 psi. It's more of a personal type thing. So you either like bullpups or you don't. Myself, I'm not as much of a bullpup fan. I never really have been. I've had opportunities to fire all the different ones that are out there throughout the world. The Tavors have been probably some of the most reliable and the most proven. You have other ones that have been out there a long time, like the L85, the British SA80, which has had nothing but problems. They're basically saying that the current ones, after HK fixed them, they work better, but they're getting ready to replace all their guns next year with a new weapons replacement program over in England. The Steyr AUG has still been in service, but that's being replaced as well. The New Zealand military just got rid of their Steyr AUGs in favor of LMTs. The French are still using their own version of the FAMAS over there, but that was just also replaced by the HK416. There's not a lot of countries anymore that are really using bullpups on a regular, other than pretty much Israel. You're also seeing, of course, the VHS over in Croatia, which probably is my favorite bullpup, just because it's larger, because I'm larger. But for a 7.62, this is a lot of power in a very small package. If you want something that was, close quarter battles in the 7.62, this is probably one of the more compact ones you're ever going to find. You still have a good 16-inch barrel, so you're going to get good ballistics, but it's in a smaller package. The triggers on these are not that great. They're not. The Geisley makes an incredible trigger for the Tavor, which I'm not sure if it would be compatible with this. It probably is, but I would have to check and see if the Tavor Geisley trigger is compatible with this one. But it's a pretty hefty trigger on here. Optics. This optic here probably was not ideal, and it should have probably mounted a little bit further. It would have been easier to use. However, the accuracy, 2.2 inches at 100 yards. Now again, for a rifle like this, 2.2 inches, I'll take that. Don't have a problem with that whatsoever. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.